So we're back. First time we've done a video on Back of the Net for a while, and it's a big news day. And what happens on big news day? Mark McAdam has stood outside Dean Court, and you're here for a reason today, Mark, and that reason is it's been announced Bill Foley and his team are new owners of the club. What a day.
Yeah, so exciting. It was a bit of a mad kick scramble this morning when we got a little bit of a tip off that something would happen potentially today. So we got in contact with the cameraman as usual on Sky Sports News, and it's just a case of getting there as quickly as possible to be on the ground for when things develop. And at 12 o'clock the club released the statement. It got confirmed officially that Bill Foley is the new owner of Bournemouth, with a couple of surprise names attached to the consortium as well. So I'm relieved, because I know there has been a lot of fans that have been a little bit nervous with how long it's taken. This is of course the first takeover that's happened since the Saudis took over Newcastle, and there is a different fit and proper persons and directors test now. It's a lot more stringent, it's a lot more structured, there's a lot more detail to it, it takes a lot longer, and of course understandably from the Premier League's perspective they wanted to make sure that they put someone in place who is responsible and wants to do the right things, and they know where the money's coming from, and they know what the plans are, and they know that it's genuine and it's going to be sensible and sustained. So it did get to the point last week where I did think myself, wow, it's going on for some time. I was confident that it was always going to be sorted, despite a few rumours on social media saying there was a problem and there was this and that and all that sort of stuff. But I'm stood here now looking upon this football club with this 100+ years of history, really confident and excited about the future, and I believe we've got someone in place that could be, can be genuinely amazing for the club, and that's hard to beat, because Maxim was amazing for the club.
Well, he was. He came in 2011, and what he did, he worked wonders. He invested heavily, and even when we got relegated, even as far as January earlier this year, he provided Scott Parker with a war chest to get us promoted. He did wonders for the club, but it seems like it's going to be a different type of ownership, because Max was very understated. He liked his privacy, whereas Bill Foley's already emailed every single supporter telling him welcome and telling him his plans and outlining what he wants, and his vision seems going to be quite different.
Yeah, I think it will be a very different model. I think that there's no right or wrong way to run a football club. I think as long as the club is there day to day and everyone's getting paid and you can watch football, and there's no issues financially, then that's the main thing as a supporter. I think what Maxim did for the club was just incredible, and it wasn't just about chucking loads of money at it. You look at some of the signings in the very early days, the likes of Matty Ritchie and Charlie Daniels and Simon Francis. These were players, and Tommy Elphick, you could go on, there's a long list. These were players that were discarded by other clubs. So it wasn't just about going and spending huge amounts of cash. It was about getting the right characters and the right personalities, and investing in the right way, and doing it slowly and sustainably and sensibly. And then of course you have a little bit of luck and whatnot, but I think the key thing for me is that when the club got relegated, it would have been so easy to walk away, because that is when the owner is needed the most. And Maxim didn't do that. We know we sold a lot of players for a lot of money, but like you say, he invested in January. With Bill Foley, you've got someone who's very experienced in business and in sport. Someone that clearly, wants to own a Premier League football club, wants to to build something.
And he wants to be in the local area by the sounds of it as well, which is huge.
Yeah, the thing I love about this is that Bill Foley came in October, met the manager, the interim manager Gary O'Neill, met the team, watched the game against Leicester City. By the time he got back on his private jet to go back to Las Vegas, he'd bought a place as well down to. So he turned up, bought the club, signed the paperwork, then bought a house. The fact that he's got a property down here as well suggests that he's not just going to be someone that wants to invest in the club and hope for the best and let someone else run it. He wants to be hands-on. He wants to be involved. He understands sport. He understands the passion of the fans. That was something that was made reference to in the statement as well. So I think that's really positive. And clearly he's at a different stage in his life, and he wants to spend his hard-earned cash on an exciting project and a sports organisation that could be brilliant. And I think if he sticks to the foundation and the principles of this club, together anything is possible. Young, exciting players, exciting, expansive, attacking football, and build upon the foundation that is there and try and grow the club globally as well, I think this could be, super exciting.
It's, I don't know the actual numbers, but from a fan's perspective, it felt like Max's approach was almost 80-20 in terms of 80% into the playing personnel and trying to keep us up, 20% in for the infrastructure. Obviously, we purchased the land at Canford Magna. Nothing was really done with it, just a little bit. Just we started it off, but from reading what Bill Foley's put, it seems like a 50-50 approach in that he really is interested in building the bricks and mortar, the tangible assets of the club, including, he said on his statement, the academy, which is obviously huge.
Yeah, that was the thing that stuck out for me. Our academy has been working wonders over the last certainly 20 years that I've been involved in the football club or around the football club, and you just have to see some of the talented youngsters they've produced and what they're doing, and that's on a very limited budget, and that's not to discredit Maxim. That's just because that's the facilities they have, the pitches they have, what they're working with and what they're trying to build. It does take time, and to take the academy to the next category status, you need a lot of investment, and you need certain things. You need indoor pitches, you need certain things. So anyway, that aside, but the fact that was mentioned in the statement, the fan experience at the Vitality Stadium, investment into the first team, potentially the new training ground, potentially a stadium, and of course the women's side as well, and so and the community, and it just all the things that you want to hear when you get new owners were mentioned, and that was clear. And I know for a fact Maxim wouldn't allow the new owner of Bournemouth Football Club, AFC Bournemouth, to be someone that he didn't trust and feel that it was in safe hands, because you don't invest 11 years of your life and £250 million into something to let it go to rack and ruin, because that's no good for anyone. So I think he can sit comfortably going, right, I've found someone who really has the best interests of the club at heart.
But Mark, there's too many American owners in the Premier League. That's what a few people are saying. What's your response to statements like that?
Well, all football clubs are for sale. Chelsea was for sale. Manchester United's for sale at the moment. Liverpool's for sale at the moment. Bournemouth were obviously for sale. So, put your money where your mouth is. We can't decide who owns football clubs and where they get their money from and where they invest it and all that sort of stuff. If Americans want to buy into the English Premier League, brilliant. And if they don't, they don't. There are a lot of very wealthy people in and around Bournemouth that have a lot of money. I'm sure if they sat down with Maxim 6 to 12 months ago and said, we're interested in buying the club, but they didn't. That's just the way things are. You don't get to choose who owns your football club. The only hope that you have is that they treat it with the care, respect and awareness that it deserves from years in 100 years of history.
What's your gauge on what's going to happen in January? Do you think there'll be a bit of investment into the playing personnel?
I think so. I think there's no question that the team needs a little bit of an injection. I think the team has been brilliant this season. We know that Maxim gave a big chunk of money to Scott Parker in January to get the team into the Premier League. He also, again, despite knowing that he was selling the club, injected more cash in the summer as well for signings to help build a team that he felt was competitive. Is that team competitive? 100%. Let's be honest. You take away the Leeds and the Tottenham results, Bournemouth potentially could have another 6 points, which would completely transform. And you'd be looking at it going, well, that team doesn't need a lot to be competitive because they're in the top half of the table. But I think there'll be money spent. I think it will be done in the same way that it's always been done, sensibly. They'll buy young players that they can coach and develop and potentially sell on for a big profit down the line. So I do think that there'll be some investment. I don't think, and again, if I'm being asked as a fan, do I want Bournemouth to go and spend, £50 million on a player and give him 200 grand a week? No, I don't. That's not what this club's about, and that isn't sustainable. Because if you get relegated, you don't want to become a Swansea or a Stoke or a Huddersfield or a Charlton or one of these teams that ends up in League One struggling financially. You want to be able to come straight back up again. That's key. So, yeah, there will be some spending done, but I think it will be done in the right way as it always has been done.
One of the people that's also been instrumental in our rise is Jeff Mostyn. Obviously, Bill Foley's been named as chairman. Do we have any idea of what his role is going to be, or if he is still to have one at the club?
I don't know at this stage, in all honesty. I'd I'd imagine moving forward there'll be a role for Jeff at some point.
I hope so.
I'm sure there will be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bill Foley is now the chairman, which leaves Jeff Mostyn to step aside from that role. I think there's still a lot of things to be sorted out. Backroom team for Gary O'Neill still needs to be sorted out. Yeah. With obviously the lads getting back ready for the Premier League campaign to kick in again at Christmas, and whatnot. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of other changes within personnel and departments. And obviously, Bill and his team will look at it and go, right, these are the areas that I want to expand. These are the areas I want to develop. These are the things we need to do to push the club forward. But I'd be surprised if there wasn't a role for Jeff. But we'll have to wait and see. It's one of those ones. It's just another strand to the story at the moment.
There was a lot of scepticism, of course, when Max took over. No one knew much about him, but he put his money where his mouth is. And what do you think people should expect initially from Bill Foley? I mean, he's turning up to the Crystal Palace game, which is hugely significant, given he's American. Like, he's going to be over watching the game. But what do you think his first thing that he would like to be doing is as chairman?
I think he'll want to engage with the community, engage with the fan base, and understand the history of this football club and what it's about, where they've come from. I still remember the buckets. I still remember the winter gardens. I still remember not being paid when I was an employee of the club because the club didn't have any money. I still remember Peter Phillips and the old chairman and many other people on the board desperately searching for funds and investment from people. How can we keep this club going? Where can we find some finance to keep the wages being paid and to keep doing what we're doing? So, in a relative short space of history, we've gone from buckets to Hollywood. So therefore, there is a lot of history there that Bill needs to understand. He needs to engage with people and find out what's important for him about the club and what they'd like to see and what they'd like to see the future. I just want to see us kept on the same path. I think the work that's been done by Neil Blake and Richard Hughes and Liz Finney and everyone else connected to the football club has been incredible. It's been sensible. I just think we all need to understand, which most fans do, where our place is in the pecking order. Yeah. We're punching above our weight continuously because of the hard work of the people working behind us in the stadium and the work that Eddie did as manager and the philosophies he implemented within this club. It's clear that there's a really positive direction now. We just keep on that same path with the same motto: together anything is possible. And
do you think, briefly, just before we end this, Neil Blake and Richard Hughes being kept on, do you think that continuity was important for Bill Foley?
Yeah, I think so. Why would you get rid of two people that knew the football club inside out? Why would you get rid of two people that had a brilliant working relationship and an understanding and experience within the transfer market, within the commercial sector, within football? There's not many people, that are sporting directors in the Premier League that have played in, the Premier League and in the Europa League and have experience, at various levels of the club. Richard's, got that. He's been working as sporting director, head of recruitment, whatever title he works under, for a number of years. He'll understand the industry when it comes to signing players and getting value for money and selling players and developing players. And Neil, again, has a brilliant understanding of that side of the business, as well as the commercial and the operative side. So I think that was important for consistency. I think it's great for Bill that he can come in and know that the club's in safe hands, because Maxim trusted those two people to run the football club and they've done an incredible job, and now Bill has got those two people that can continue that seamless operation in the same way. So I think that would be vital for him moving forward, because as you've seen with some other clubs, new owners come in, they've got no experience, no knowledge, and they get things wrong. Whereas when you've got two wise heads to guide them through, then clearly that's a massive positive.
Superb. It sounds like the future is bright. Mark McAdam from Sky Sports, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.